part of today's lesson, we're going to talk about the difference in the sound of this sound, what we call the v sound, okay? Like the word have and v at the end of, when we make it shorter, I have, I've, okay? And then practice. So let's talk about the difference between those two sounds or those two letters, okay? So we have this one, and we already know that it's a v sound, okay? While this one is like the letter F, it's the f sound. So many people mix or confuse those two together, okay? Some people sometimes do not pronounce the V sound correctly. They pronounce it like this one. So be very careful with this. So the difference between both is this sound is voiced. So when you make this sound, you're actually making voice through your vocal cords, and there are some vibrations. So you need to make a sound or make a voice, and that voice will travel from your throat through the nasal area, and it will go out through your nose, and will make the sound v, okay? So practice this sound, okay? V, v. And let's see how this sound is pronounced. So the difference, this one is unvoiced. We only use air with this one. The only things that comes out is air, no sound, okay? So, and this one is v, okay? So you see the difference between both now. We're going to see some words that have both sounds, okay? And pay good attention to this and try to repeat as much as you can. So the first one we have here is, I've never flown in a plane, okay? So I'm going to say this slower, okay? I've never flown a plane. So you notice the difference in this sound and in this sound. I've never, so also here we have v, I've never flown in a plane, okay? So I'm going to say this quickly and repeat after me, okay? I've never flown in a plane. One more time. I've never flown in a plane. Very good. The next one, the same way, but we're going to change, instead of I, we're going to say they, okay? So, they've seen a shark. One more time. They've seen a shark. Very good. And the next one, we're going to practice the word have at the beginning of the question. So, have you climbed a mountain? Again, one more time. Have you climbed a mountain? Very good. So please notice that don't say have. That's a different word. So this one is have, okay? Have, the sound v in this word. So, have you climbed a mountain? Very good, excellent job. So now let's move on to the next one. You've flown a plane. You've flown a plane. So this one is a little bit tricky because we have both sounds close to each other, okay? So you've flown a plane. So we can say this faster by saying, you've flown a plane. Very good. So you see the sounds are overlapping, okay? So it's they are overlapping and they are pronounced together. So you've flown a plane. Great job. Now let's go to the next one. What have you done? Again, what have you done? Excellent job. So the last one, we're going to practice the negative now, okay? So, you haven't been to a museum. Again, one more time. You haven't been to a museum. Excellent job. So this is the difference in sound between the sound of v and the sound f, okay? So make sure that you tell the difference between both and they make a distinction. So now we're going to move on to the next part of today's lesson, and we're going to discuss the conversation on page 68. So on page 68 you have something similar to these pictures, okay? So let's discuss those pictures just for us to expect what's going to happen or what we're going to read about in this conversation. Okay, so as you can see, what do you see in this one? So we clearly this picture was taken underwater, and we have some sharks. Okay, sharks are dangerous animals, and we have a man sitting in a cage, okay, underwater. So have you ever tried this? Have you ever tried this? Have you been to a place like that? So this looks very dangerous and scary, right? And this one was taken from the inside of the cage. So you see the man was taking a picture of the shark being very, very close. So have you done something dangerous like that? So ask yourself, or maybe ask someone else, have you done this? Have you done that? So where's this place? We know that it's underwater, but where exactly on the map? So you have this in your textbook, okay? You have this in your textbook. There is a map, and the map will show you where the place is. So now we're going to read the conversation. We're going to listen to the conversation. So please close your book for now. We're going to listen and just look at the picture, okay? And before we do that, let's talk about some words. So what's going to go, or what are we going to listen to? What words do you expect that you're going to listen to in this conversation? So I expect that we're going to listen to something about sharks. And another word that may come up, diving maybe, okay? And some of you may say cage, very good. And some of you also may say dangerous. So these are some of the words that might come up. So we're going to listen to the conversation and see if any of those were mentioned, okay? So,
what's the most awesome experience you've ever had?
Definitely when I went shark diving. Have you ever heard of it?
No, never.
Well, I went shark diving in Gansby, South Africa. It's one of the best places in the world to see the great white sharks up close.
You're out of your mind. You'll never catch me diving in the middle of sharks.
It's not like that. You go out on a boat to a place called Shark Alley, and you go down inside a cage. The people on the boat throw out big pieces of fish tied to a rope in order to attract the sharks. The sharks come up real close, and frequently they knock the cage with their heads.
Weren't you afraid?
To be honest, I was scared to death.
okay. So that we've listened to the conversation between those two people, and was the word shark mentioned? Yes, very good. So it was mentioned, and in particular it was mentioned that the great white shark, so one specific type of sharks. And how about the word diving? Was it mentioned? Very good, maybe. And the word cage? Yes. And how about the word dangerous? So that's okay if you haven't got all of them. So this one, maybe it wasn't mentioned. So we're going to read together, okay? So you can open your book now on page 68, and we're going to read the conversation between those two people. So we're going to read the conversation between Michael and Andrew, so please listen and read along as you listen, and also pay good attention to the words in blue. This is what we call, these expressions are what we call real talk. And after we finish reading, we're going to discuss their meanings, okay? So now please listen and read along.
What's the most awesome experience you've ever had?
Definitely when I went shark diving. Have you ever heard of it?
No, never.
Well, I went shark diving in Gansby, South Africa. It's one of the best places in the world to see the great white sharks up close.
You're out of your mind. You'll never catch me diving in the middle of sharks.
It's not like that. You go out on a boat to a place called Shark Alley, and you go down inside a cage. The people on the boat throw out big pieces of fish tied to a rope in order to attract the sharks. The sharks come up real close, and frequently they knock the cage with their heads.
Weren't you afraid?
To be honest, I was scared to death.
Okay, so now that we have read the conversation between Michael and Andrew, let's talk about some of the vocabulary, some of the expressions in this one. So, well, I went shark diving in Gansby. So what's this place? So you see this part in your textbook, it says FYI, that means for your information. So this is an acronym, you see, for your information. So Gansby is an Afrikaans word that means Goose Bay, okay? Goose Bay. So that's the meaning of the word. So that's the name of the place, and it means something. So now let's talk about the expressions in blue. So who said definitely? Who said the word definitely? So Andrew said this in a response to Michael when he said, what's the most awesome experience you've ever had? He said, definitely when I went shark diving. Okay, so does that mean no or something? So does it mean yes or no? So he's saying yes in a way, and he's very sure, or he's 100% sure, okay, of this one. So this is definitely the most awesome experience. Okay, so if someone asks me, for example, what's the thing that you love the most? I'd say, for example, definitely teaching English. Okay, so definitely is a strong way of saying or making expressing that you are very sure or certain. Okay, so definitely when I went shark diving. And how about this one? You're out of your mind. So when he said, I went shark diving, it's one of the best places in the world to see great white shark up close. And then he said, you're out of your mind. So what does that mean? So we're going to talk about this next. And here we said, to be honest, and then he said, I was scared to death. So did he actually die? I was scared to death. No, he wasn't. So all of these expressions are used in conversations, in daily conversations. So we're going to talk about the meaning of those expressions. So definitely means expressing a high degree of certainty, okay? And you're out of your mind means you're crazy, okay? You're out of your mind, or you're out of your mind. So that means you're crazy. And to be honest means to tell the truth. And scared to death means very frightened, very scared, okay? So now let's go to the next part of today's lesson about the conversation, and we're going to answer those 6 questions. So question number 1, where did Andrew go on his vacation? And in the conversation you see that I went shark diving. Very good. So this is the answer. So let's write it down. He went shark diving in Gans Bay, South Africa. Number 2, what kind of experience was it? How can you describe it? What kind of experience? So awesome experience, and also scared to death. So we can use this information and say it was an awesome experience, but it was scary. Okay. And number 3, how do they attract the sharks? So talk about the method that they do to attract the sharks. So you see in this part, people on the boat throw a big pieces of fish tied to a rope in order to attract sharks. So this is the answer to this one. So people throw out big pieces of fish. And number 4, was he scared? So we're talking about Andrew. Was he scared? And you see this part, scared to death. So we can say, yes, he was. Andrew says he was scared to death. Very good. So number 5, what does Michael think? And what does Michael think of the whole thing, the whole adventure, the whole experience? So he said, you're out of your mind. So he doesn't believe it. He thinks it's crazy. So we can say, what does Michael think? Michael thinks that Andrew is crazy. Okay, so these are the answers to about the conversation part. And the next part is your turn. So find someone in your class who has done these things, and then share your findings with the class. So it doesn't have to be a classmate, maybe a family member or a friend, and ask about those activities. So write here the name of the person that you're going to ask, and when, what, who, and where. So more information in this part of the chart. So gone snorkeling. So we're going to ask, have you ever gone snorkeling, flown in an airplane, eaten an unusual food item, traveled to an exciting place, met a famous person? So use all of those and ask the people. Make sure that you write the name here, and then here you're going to write more details. Okay, so the purpose for this is for you to practice asking questions using the present perfect and answer those questions. And the last part of today's lesson is about you. So we have 2 questions, and answer those questions with information about yourself. So number 1, what was the most dangerous or most exciting experience you've ever had? So talk about this from the moment you were born up to this time, okay, or up to now. And number 2, what was the most relaxing or the most peaceful experience you've ever had? Also, we're going to talk about something dangerous, something exciting, and something peaceful and relaxing at the same time. And also for this, this is for you to practice using the present perfect. And that's all the time we have for today's lesson. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.